All right, guys. I'm going to skip the second part of the two-part series I started last time because Janelle and I just got back from the MetFix Foundations seminar last weekend. It was wonderful, amazing, very motivating information. And while it's fresh in my brain, I wanted to go over that with all of you. It gave us tools, I think, to do a lot more at the gym with as we move forward. But I want to kind of start all of us down the road of thinking about something right now. So that's why I titled this one, The Hardest Thing to Do, the hardest thing for people who do hard things. So I'm going to go over a lot of the specific reasons why we know, not we think, we know what the solution is to living a long, healthy life and why so many people are not doing it right now. But I think first I need to talk about behavior change because that's what's going to entail for all of us. Guys, you guys know this. Food is social. It is how we do celebrations. It's how we do family gatherings. It's how we do most of our social activities. You have the break rooms at work. You have the birthday parties. We lived fast-paced lives, and getting quick, available, convenient food works with our lives. And it also becomes how we cope with life, how we comfort ourselves. And that's why I know as we get into this, that this is going to be hard, that this is hard for all of us. Especially, I would say, for our specific generation. There is a way humans have eaten since we have been human. And if that is a 200-page book, the last two words in that book are the way we have been eating for the last 50, 60 years. And obviously, it is quickly becoming a big problem for all of us. And so that's why this is the issue we have to deal with, because this is our generation's problem. And I want to point out as I go through this that at a certain point, there's what you want. We all want to be ripped. We all want to be sexy. We all want to be healthy. But you're going to have to be honest with yourself. We are all going to have to be honest with ourselves about what you are willing to do. And the gap between what I want and what I'm willing to do. And that can be very difficult. We build roadblocks in our head. So it's not that I'm not willing to, it's that I can't. We fool ourselves that way because it's an easy way out. There is no one who cannot eat the way that will provide you with a long, healthy life. There's just no one who can't eat that way. It is just, what are you willing to do? And I think the point of this is not to put guilt on any of us. It is to become matter of fact about that. And then also hope and work towards a brighter future while we're doing this. Let me give a personal example. So in this last Open this spring, I did not do near as well as I thought I would do, as I was planning on doing. It definitely exposed some holes in my game. And that's what I like about the Open. It has at times, and it did this time, really motivate me to move to new forms of action in my life that, for better or worse, I wasn't willing to do before that. And so, guys, I thought about this in preparing for this. Since I started picking up weights at about 16, I don't think there's been a week in my life that has gone by that I haven't worked out. Like literally, even when I've had surgeries, I know I worked out those weeks. When I was working as a logger in Oregon, I would still go to the YMCA on the weekends and work out. When I worked as a trader at the Board of Options in Chicago, there was a while there where because of the schedule and I lived north of the city, I would go work out at 5 a.m. and jump on like the 6:10 train to make it to work. Then I moved into the city and then I would go after work. But I have always worked out since 16 to now almost 51. So I know for sure for me, when I want to improve my performance physically, it's not going to come from the next training method. And it's not going to come from training harder. It's going to come from a behavior change, and specifically probably what I'm eating or drinking. And so a couple things for me. I don't think I drink a lot. It is a lot less than I used to, but I have always enjoyed my glasses of wine in the evening, the occasional glass of whiskey or tequila. And so I made a commitment to myself. I'm going to try really hard to not drink unless we're out at a social gathering. And I'm also not going to eat chips. And you guys know I've been very open about it. I love chips. They are one of the simple pleasures in life for me. But this is something I decided back in like March. And I had a very similar experience to Janelle because Janelle decided to kind of do the same thing about a year ago. And I'll say, guys, I didn't tell this to anybody. And just on a quick side note here, I think it is so much better to not say what you're going to do, to just go do it and then let other people notice what you are doing. This works in your relationship with your spouse, gentlemen. All you do when you tell your wife, I'm going to do this or do that, is now you've set up an expectation that at best you can just meet it. And you made the expectation. They're not in the wrong to hold you to it. You set the expectation. So now all you can do is meet it or come underneath it and then thereby lose their respect. Because girls want a guy that does what he says he's going to do, and they remember. And it's not their fault if you go shooting your mouth off about stuff you're going to do that you don't do. And I think it is way better in life to just start doing things and then have other people notice. And others have noticed the change in my behavior, but it took a while. Because for about a month, I didn't notice any difference, both physically and how I looked or felt. I was like, why am I doing this? These are a couple of the simple pleasures in life I have. What's going on here? And Janelle would notice the same thing when she stopped drinking. Like, I don't feel any different. 4 or 5 weeks later, I started noticing a pretty substantial difference. And suddenly, a lot of you guys noticed. I leaned out a lot more, and I will say my engine in the gym has gotten noticeably, I would call it 15 to 20% better. My ability to recover from workouts has gotten better. And so I will say this is something that I just wasn't willing to do till now. And for whatever reason, getting really frustrated with that workout made it click in me. And so that's where I want to talk to you guys about what are we willing to do? And maybe if you're not willing now, just keep it in mind, keep trying, and maybe you will be eventually. And don't tell your spouse you're going to do something unless you really plan on doing it. Anyways, we are all addicted to carbs. And with any addiction, there is denial, we minimize it, there's guilt associated with it, which is not what I'm trying to do here. In a world of high stress, carbs have the effect of helping us release dopamine, which is the feel-good hormone, as we all know. It's the same hormone that gets released when you do cocaine. It gives us instant gratification and it helps us dull our emotions. Eating becomes an emotional solve, like an emotional benefit for us in the short term because it makes us feel better. And just like any other addiction, when you try and change that, it's not going to feel great for a while, for sure. Constant carb intake leads to metabolic inflexibility. And I'm going to get into what I mean by that term. But said another way, we simply cannot function unless we're constantly consuming carbs. And guys, either you've done it or you know somebody done it. If you're a smoker or you're a dipper and you go and try and quit, there's going to be points in time where you feel like crap. And the only thing that will make you feel better in that moment is another cigarette or dip. Does that mean you shouldn't try and stop? No. Does that mean it's good for you? No. We all know this. But when you're down in it and making a behavior change, you're going to want that thing. And we justify it and say, my body's just built to run on carbs, so that's what I need. And you're right. It is built to run on carbs right now. But that is not what it's meant to run on when it's optimized. So when I hear people say this, and Janelle has heard this, and I have heard this, I need my carbs right now. I know you do. But if you can get over that hump, you can find a very bright future where you don't need it all the time. When we fill up on carbs all the time, we become classic where we are full in a sense, but we are nutrient deficient. And one of the classic things I will hear after a weekend, when someone has been eating a lot of carbs on the weekend, they come in on Monday and I'm just really tired today. I don't know what's going on. I slept fine. I'm just really tired. I know what happened. You filled up on carbs all weekend and you're nutrient deficient. And so you don't want to hear that because you had a good time. You ate pizza. You were at the ball game. You were doing whatever. And all the social things I talked about before that lead you to eating the cake and the ice cream and the pizza and the pasta and the bread. And unfortunately now on Monday, even though you slept, your body is tired because it's nutrient deficient. And that sucks. I didn't make the rules, but I see this happen all the time at the gym and just in life. And here are the issues we face with our generation, guys. We are fat. We have constantly high blood sugar. We have a constant supply of bad polyunsaturated fats, which mainly come from seed oils. And this has the effect of misleading our body and making us feel less satisfied and wanting more. But that's not what our body really wants more of. There's a lot of new evidence to show there's a signal within ourselves. So without getting too far into this, we all know insulin, when you eat food, it raises insulin. Insulin tells your body to open the cells and store all the food you just ate in our fat cells. There's also a signal within the cell called reactive oxygen species, which is basically a chemical signal that from inside the cell tells the body, this cell is full. This cell is at max capacity of all the fat it can hold, for instance. When we're eating lots of seed oils, when we're eating lots of polyunsaturated fats, which are in salad dressings, in canola oil, when you eat out a lot, because it's not their fault, because of cost effectiveness, these are the oils they use. This is what has the effect of our body literally filling up our fat cells till they are bursting, till they're over full and it's leaking out of our fat cells. And then we start putting fat around all our organs, around our heart, our liver, everywhere else in the body. And this is what leads to all the diabetes we see, heart attacks, and Alzheimer's. And guys, let me say this. Can we prevent Alzheimer's? And can we prevent cancer? Yes, to a large extent, we can do that. Alzheimer's is now being often termed type 3 diabetes, and it comes from a lifetime of eating sugar and refined carbs. And it has the effect of making our brain metabolically inflexible. It just can run on sugar, and our brain cells become lethargic and start to age way earlier than they should. Cancer feeds on carbs. That is all cancer can feed on. It cannot feed on fats, and it cannot feed on proteins. But guess what? The rest of us, the rest of our body, take cancer cells out, all of the rest of us can run on just fat and proteins. And I'm not telling you to eat that way, but I'm going to make a point here. Carbs are a non-essential macronutrient for the body. What do I mean by that? I mentioned earlier metabolic inflexibility. What does this mean? All right, guys, when you work out, your blood sugar, when you work out hard, when we work out hard, like we work out at a high intensity, your body needs to use up the glucose stores in the body. Glucose, again, our body stores glycogen, which is the stored form of glucose, mainly in our muscle cells, also in our liver, and a little bit on our bloodstream. Your resting, your fasted blood sugar is the glucose that's running around in your blood all the time. But it's a very finite supply of glucose. But that's what our body starts using and distributing to our lungs and our heart and our working muscles when we work out really hard. And then getting broken down and going into our mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell. You probably learned this in early school biology, at least I did. And that is what our body runs on when it's working at a high level. What should happen when you're done working out? You cool off, the demand is now, but I have to replenish all those glycogen stores in my muscle cells, around in my liver, in my bloodstream. This is when your body should be switching to fat and using fat, the stored fat on your body, as the primary energy source. And let me just say, we have virtually an unlimited supply of fat on our body. Even Janelle, who is super lean, has at least a month's supply of fat on her body. I have well over a month's supply of fat on our body. It's virtually unlimited on all of us, whereas our glucose stores are very limited. This is it's like the perfect hybrid car or truck. That when you're in the city, and I think in the city it runs on electrical, and on the highway it runs on gas. I might have that reversed, but the beauty of a hybrid car, it runs on the best fuel source based on the need at the time. Am I in stop and go traffic, or am I tooling down the highway? That's what our body is meant to do. When we're going fast, I need that fast available energy source. When I'm at rest, I'm using this source that takes longer to break down, but is an unlimited supply. And that is what I mean by metabolic flexibility. And instead of a hybrid car, what we become, as soon as our blood sugar starts to drop, we crave carbs again and we eat carbs. And we're just in this balance with the carb intake we do. And we become, as soon as that comes down, I need more snacks. I need more sugar. I need more pasta, more rice, more oatmeal, all these things. And our body loses over the time the ability to switch and run well on fat. And now we're just the old gas guzzling clunker that gets 10 miles to the gallon and has to stop every 50 miles at the gas station. What would happen if you never ate another carb? Would you die? Would you become nutrient deficient? Would you become vitamin deficient? No, because they're not essential. And what do I mean by that? Let's talk about protein. When protein is broken down in fuel, it's broken down into 20 amino acids. Only 9 of those are essential. What does it mean by essential? It means we have to take them in from an external source to use them in the body. We cannot make them. The other 11 amino acids we can make. So whether we take it in directly or indirectly with protein, we can use protein to make those amino acids. 9 of them we cannot, and so we have to consume. That's when you hear something is a complete form of protein, like the egg. It has all of the amino acids in it. And some sources of protein are incomplete because they don't have all of the amino acids in them. If all we ever ate was fat and protein, we would be able to break that down into glucose, convert that into glucose. There's different methods to do this. Beta oxidation with fat, breaking down the protein into amino acids. And we could make glucose that we store in our muscle cells and store in our liver and store in our bloodstream. We could make it, but you cannot use carbs to make protein or fat. The other way doesn't go. We can use these two and make what we get from carbs. We cannot use carbs to make what we get from fat and protein. And we get all the vitamins and minerals you need from the good sources of fat and protein we get. If you're eating a good, nice, thick, well done, a good piece of meat, you're getting vitamin C in that. You're getting all kinds of good stuff in that. With fat, I mentioned it's beta oxidation, which is, I don't want to get too technical right now, but you take a long chain fatty acid, you break off 2 carbons at a time, you send these into the mitochondria. That's how we make glucose, and I'm cutting out several steps there, but that's how we make glucose when we're using fat. But this takes time, and this is why we use that as an energy source when we are at rest. So the point of that being, glucose is our short-term energy source, but because of our diet, we learn to only run on that and never convert into the other two. Now, I titled this, Those of Us Who Do Hard Things, What We Find Hard. When you work out at high intensity, which I sing the praises of constantly and have for the last 2 years, you produce adrenaline when you are doing this, which feels great. I love it. You produce human growth hormone, which makes you leaner, biologically younger, stronger. You produce testosterone, which makes you smarter, makes you younger, makes you recover faster, and you make more mitochondria. You also make lactate, which we thought for a long time was a waste product. Lactate is actually one of the premium fuel sources for the body. It's a way of recycling glucose we've already used and using it again in the body. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now, but it's even the premium fuel source for the brain. It's like giving your car the premium unleaded gasoline. When you work out hard, you provide a good supply of lactate for your brain to run on. And it curbs your appetite. As we all know, when you do a I'm gonna die kind of workout, you're not hungry for a couple hours after that because your body is using up that lactate as fuel, and it's told your body, I don't need anything right now. When we do hard things, that transfers to life. We have an indomitable spirit. We are better able to face life's problems. So it transfers to all areas of life. But the problem is that takes 1 hour. We'll all suck it up for 1 hour and do that hard thing. Behavior change is the other 23 hours of our life. And going back to what I said at the beginning, if you miss a workout, you don't freak out, I'm going to get in the gym tomorrow. But it's so easy to get discouraged with diet because it's all around us. As I said, all of our social activity revolves around this food. It's just, I go to the party, all they had was this to eat. There was nothing else good choice there. I'm in a hurry, I need to go through the fast food. And then I want the fries and the milkshake and all this stuff. It works with our schedule. So much our lives revolves around this that we get discouraged with, I don't know how I'm going to stop and be able to do this. And that's why it is the hardest thing for those of us that do hard things. In CrossFit, we talk about the sickness, wellness, fitness continuum and how, you want that needle moved all the way into the fitness realm. So when you get injured or when you get sick, you're not all the way to sick as an organism because you've given yourself a buffer. With MetFix, we're much more focused on adding the other axis in that analogy of age and being fit for life. And realizing that the most important part of that is what you're fueling your body with, not how hard you work in the gym. Guys, let me give you an example here. There's the guy who busts his ass in the gym his whole life, but eats like shit, drinks, eats whatever he wants like shit his whole life. Then there's the other guy who never works out, but eats super clean, meat, vegetables, nuts, seeds, some starch, little fruit, no sugar, and no seed oils. who ends up being more fit for life? I think we all know the answer to that, and it's not the one we want it to be. So as I go back to the beginning, for me, it was cutting out booze and chips. I'd worked out my whole life. A change to my programming, a change to working harder in the gym, or some trick to my program was not going to be the big difference maker. And for most of you guys, I will say, if you've been working out for 3 or more years, definitely more than 5 years, if you want to see a performance change in the gym or a performance change in your body, it's not going to come from the new workout plan or working out harder. It's going to become from changing your diet and what you do and what you take into your body. And unfortunately, you don't want to hear that, because we all know that's the hardest thing for all of us to get a handle on. So what are you willing to do? And be honest with yourself. This is not complicated. Eating healthy is what we think it is. It takes preparation. It takes learning how to cook or prepare meals for ourselves a lot. And I will tell you, if you watch Janelle's Meals of the Day, I eat delicious food every day. But it's been a lifestyle change. And then cutting out the booze and the chips as my snacks has been a 15 to 20% difference maker for me. I don't think I was doing bad before. I don't think I was in a bad spot. My blood work was great. I was doing great, but I had a higher standard for myself. And I finally wanted it bad enough. And knock on wood, one day at a time. So far, so good. We'll see if I can keep on this journey. But what are you willing to do? What are you willing to give up? And then don't feel guilty about it. Just keep plugging away. And there may be a point in the future for you too where you're willing, or you have gotten yourself to a place where you can do more. Because we all know the answer. We just are trying to find a different answer. And unfortunately, it's not there. Let me know what you think of this one. Let me know if I made my points clearly. Right on.